Hello, and this is Miss Mason Explains, the Executive Branch and Foreign Policy. So what is foreign policy? Foreign policy is a country's actions, words, and beliefs towards other countries. The United States has a foreign policy with three main goals. The first is to protect America and American citizens, to support economic growth and human rights around the world, and increase support for American values like democracy and freedom. The United States foreign policy is really to make sure the United States is a world power and to make sure that the United States is safe from any enemies. Okay. So what does the executive branch do? With foreign policy, the president and the executive branch begin the U.S. foreign policy responses to world events. Okay, so what does that mean? So the president would meet with other countries to create a treaty if there was a war. However, as with everything else we've learned this year, there's a checks and a balance. Now, the legislative branch will carry out those responses by either approving a treaty, creating a law, or whatever else they have to do. Okay, so now I've been talking about treaties. So what are treaties? Treaties are formal agreements between countries that must be followed, like laws. Okay, so a treaty is kind of like the agreement that students make with the school that they will come to school with their uniform, with their homework done, with their school books, and the school has agreed to teach the students their education. All right. The president is responsible for negotiating, making an agreement, and signing those treaties. Okay, so the president will meet with the leaders of other countries and get them to agree upon something and then sign a treaty. Now, like we know, there's checks and a balance with everything, and all treaties must be approved by 2/3 of the Senate. For an example of this is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also known as NATO. 28 countries form this group by signing the NATO treaty. It says that if one of the countries is attacked, the other 27 countries will come to their help and protect them by sending them troops, by sending them money, by sending them foreign aid. Ooh, something we're going to learn soon. By sending them weapons and ammo and anything else that they need. All right. So, what happens with these countries that are our friends? Well, the president will nominate someone called the ambassador, and they are confirmed by a majority of the Senate. Little checks and balance there. Now, this ambassador works for the Department of the State, and they are official representative for the United States in the country that they are living. And they head the U.S. Embassy in their foreign country. So this ambassador will go to meetings with foreign leaders. They will act as the U.S. representative in these foreign countries. Okay? And the U.S. Embassy, just to give you guys a little tip, is if you are a U.S. citizen and you are visiting another country, you can go to the U.S. Embassy if there is a civil war or if you lose your passport, because the U.S. Embassy is a part of the United States in another country. Okay. So, now, the United States military, it's our defense force, and the president is the leader as the commander-in-chief. As you all know from day 2 of Unit 5. The military's goal is to prevent war and protect the United States from its enemies. Now, the military has 4 branches. The Department of Defense is the overall parent of these 4 branches. You have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. Okay. So now, what exactly do we do for other countries? Well, the United States gives foreign aid to other countries through the Department of the State. As you guys have learned, the Department of State helps out with the U.S. foreign policy. Okay. Now, this foreign aid creates friendships and develops future trade partners. It basically creates the foundation of a relationship of the United States to other countries, so that if the United States needs to call on that relationship for future, trade or for future help with a treaty or whatever, they're there to help us out. Now, there are 3 forms of foreign aid. The most common form is through economic foreign aid, and that's through money and through goods. That's like sending food to Africa and sending money to whoever needs it. Okay? Now, there's also a defense form of foreign aid, and that's by sending our military soldiers to help after a disaster. Now, when the Philippines was hit by that hurricane a few months ago, I know a couple of my friends who are still in the military, and they're stationed in Hawaii, and they went to the Philippines to help out the Philippines after that hurricane. All right? And the third form of foreign aid is through advice. And that is basically the United States helping out other governments to set up a democracy. And as you know, that's one of the foreign policy main goals. All right. So now, what do we do if a country isn't doing what the United States wants? And that's through sanctions. Sanctions are actions taken by the United States to persuade, to get another country to change their behavior or their policy. All right? Now, this can be done through many ways. It can be done through restricting trade, through political action, through a treaty, through taking out all of our military force. As you know, there's military all over all over the world. So one of our ways of getting someone to do what we want is either we can send our troops in there or we can take them out. Maybe we're going to impose a tax on goods that come to the United States from that country. Now, if we impose a tax, that means they're not going to get as much money from selling their goods to the United States. It's not very cool. Here's an example. Your parents sanction you by taking away your phone because of your low grades. Your parents are really angry. You're getting low grades. Bunch of C's, D's. Maybe you're failing a couple classes. So the way that your parents are going to persuade you to change your behavior, to change your grades, get you to do your homework, study for your test, is to take away your phone. Maybe they're going to ground you as well. That is a form of sanction a parent takes on their children to get them to do what they want. All right. So now, who does what? Take a few minutes and turn your handout over. The Constitution says who has which foreign policy power. See if you can figure out who is responsible for which power and write them in the correct place on the chart on your handout. Take a few minutes, fill it out. Press pause right now on the video and fill it out. We'll go over it when you get back. All right. Now that you filled out the chart, let's see if you got them all correct. All right. So for foreign policy, what does the president do? He makes recommendations on foreign policy, and he'll either sign or veto a bill into law. All right. And as you know, Congress can either write and they pass their bills. Checks and balance. All right. Now with the military, what can the president do? Well, as the commander-in-chief, the president can send troops all around the world. However, can he declare war? No. There's another checks and balance. Only Congress can declare war. Now, if you remember, there's also something called the War Powers Treaty. Take a look at your notes. That's another checks and balance for Congress. All right, now for treaties. President can negotiate and sign treaties. However, Congress must approve the treaty by a vote of 2/3. All right. So now, why do you think the writers of the Constitution gave Congress a voice in most foreign policy decisions? Is it A, so the president can make decisions on his own and not listen to Congress? Is it B, to make it really difficult for our country to respond in a war? Or is it C, to make sure that not just one person had all the power in making these important decisions, like whether or not to go to war? Take a few seconds and circle the correct answer that you think is why the writers of the Constitution gave Congress some foreign policy power. All right, let's see if you're correct. The correct answer is C. So, why did we in the United States declare independence from England? Because we did not want one person to have all of the power. All right. So that is why the writers of the Constitution gave Congress some voice in foreign policy decisions. All right. So now, this is the last thing we're going to do. So who do you think has the most difficult job when it comes to foreign policy? Is it the president or Congress? Circle which one, and then list 2 reasons why you think that branch has the hardest job when it comes to foreign policy. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. See you guys later. Bye.